All right, this is jpeg2RAW photo review, show number 9. 9 months of doing this. Incredible. 9 months. And tonight we're going over the January photos. We're going to start with the beginners group. We have 2 groups now doing this, beginners group and the regular group. And somebody told me the other day, AD, that they're looking forward to the day when they get good enough to join the regular group. And I just want to say you can join either group. I didn't create the beginner group because I said you got to be worthy to get into the regular group. The beginner group is really just if you want to be with people that are maybe on that same level, or you want to ask some questions, you feel more comfortable there. You can join either group you want. There's nothing that says you can't join the other one. So the theme this time, AD, was low light, high ISO. So either both or one of the two. That was the theme here. And let me get set up so we can go to the images. We're going to do the what do you call it? The beginner group first. We're going to do the beginner group first.
Yep.
All right. And first up is, let's make sure I'm recording this before we start. Hold on. Yep. And it says YouTube's not receiving video. I'm gonna cut my video to you just for a second and let that go for a while. You'll be able to see me the other way.
Yeah, the YouTube video, it's playing.
Okay.
You got Kristen Anderson. You guys, I see Gary's out there, Kristen's out there. Are you guys seeing video on YouTube? I'm monitoring the chat here live. We can't tell because we're doing the video itself, but
it looks like it's playing. All right,
Gary says all good here, man.
All right, let's keep going then. So first up is this image from, let me get the names ready. How do I get the names ready?
I got it.
Nancy.
Yep.
Nancy. Where's Nancy? There we go. Nancy Zumbach Smith. And okay, first off, I had a dog exactly like this, a Springer Spaniel. Love Springer Spaniels. Great dogs.
Yep.
And let's see. She says, this was taken with only a desk lamp and a computer screen on the right. There was a TV on across the room and to the left. Yeah, ISO 3200 with this one.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that, for me, creativity is king, and you don't need expensive lighting rigs, and you don't need to have all this a crazy studio and all this stuff to get a very dramatic photo. And I think that she achieved that here. The background is very painter-like. I just love the expression on the dogs, almost like, I'm just hanging out on this couch. Go ahead, take my photo, like get it over with so I can have that bone that I know that you have over there or whatever. And it's just very well done. I really like it. It's nice tones. The background blends well. It looks like she did a little bit of a treatment on the background, which I like. A little bit of texturing going on up in the corners. Almost looks like a paintbrush sort of effect. Around the edges, maybe with topaz impressions or something like that. But yeah, I really like it. It's a very simple image, and again, you guys know what I push every week. I talk about minimizing your images and basically whittling it down to the main subject. Now later on, as you grow as a photographer, you will make more complex images, but for now, until you kind of get the power out of your images that you're looking for, just go for the simple stuff and try to just be very bold with just the very bare minimums. And when you can start to get that, and then you can start to add other things and do that sort of stuff, or not. Some people stay in that minimalist photography way, and I love it. I mean, street photographers are great for that. I look at their work all the time and just am totally blown away. So
Gary says Border Patrol. I didn't see anything. I didn't have any problems with any of the border on this one. There's like a paintbrush effect going on with the background.
Okay. And I think he's talking about like the upper corner where it's a little dark and on a black background, it kind of
Hmm.
just blends in. And that's a matter of taste. Is it one of those things that draws my eye up? I don't think it does, simply because it's not a high contrast difference. So where we have problems with things, darkness in the corners and the edges, are generally when there's a high contrast there. So where this just looks like a paintbrush stroke, I think it lends to the overall painted look of the image. It
Hmm.
almost reminds me of the old paintings of the dogs playing poker,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It almost has that kind of feel to it as far as the processing goes. So
And I think Nancy, in a competition where it's about high ISO, she might have done some treatment to this because she had too much noise. She felt she had too much noise in there. Sometimes noise can be your friend. I don't know about in a dog photo like this, but don't don't be afraid of the noise sometimes, especially when the topic is about noise.
right. Yeah, and I've got a guy, I mentioned to you that I think you need to get on the show. He's just started releasing a bunch of photography tools, kind of like what I'm doing. His name is Scott Norris.
Hmm.
And he will take images sometimes that are real high ISO and do it, he'll turn them into this. You'll be like, that was a high ISO image. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I really couldn't have used it as an everyday photo. But I decided just to kind of work it into my own piece of art. And I think that sometimes there's two sides to that story. We can work with the grain a lot of times, and it ends up usually being a black and white image if the grain is too
Right.
dastardly color messed up. I think that one of the things that always comes up, people always talk about noise and images, and don't be afraid of the noise. I mean, I think this works well the way she did this, but I think what Mike is also getting at too is that sometimes um, different cameras produce different noise. And this is what always got me with, like, you've known for a long time, I've been a Sony shooter, and people are like, wow, their ISO, it goes to a certain level and they don't, they get noise. I'm like, yeah, but that noise is actually really good looking noise. It's
Hmm.
not, it's something that's usable. And yeah, if you're doing a color image, but if you want to like a real filmy kind of black and white with grain in it, those cameras did that very well, and you could run with it, sort of thing. So, yeah, I think it's just two separate ends of the story. Here, she decided she was going to take a high ISO image. Yeah, 3200. I'm not sure what camera she was on, but that's a pretty high ISO still for an image, and she made it look pretty clean and,
Yep.
and pretty nice. So.
All right. Next up is Robin. Robin. Let's see, what is the name? Marvel. And this one, I'm going to take the name out fairly early because my name is right over part of the image there. But there's Robin's name. And you can tell he's at, okay, I'm going to assume it's he. I know this person, so now I'm not positive. But if I did it wrong, sorry. I'm assuming he's at a competition and he's one of the spectators. Because for me, one of the things I would have done is zoomed in for this image. I would have zoomed in a little bit closer to crop out the crowd ahead in front of me. You see those people down at the bottom? Crop that out a
Uh-huh.
little bit. The flags up near the top and up in the right-hand corner. I think if you got a little bit tighter shot, I know you probably won the 2017 in the shot. He didn't give us a lot of information, just the camera info. ISO 3200, 1250th of a second, 1250th of a second, which is pretty fast. You probably could have lowered your speed a little bit and lowered your ISO. But the ISO here in this size of an image is not distracting to me at all, the noise. It's those people at the lower bottom. If you'd have zoomed in a little bit more, you wouldn't have got the side players, I don't think. You probably could not have stood up without distracting people behind you. But, that's one of the things when you're in a crowd like that, taking photos without getting the backs of other people's heads. It's going to be a challenge. Maybe walk out to the aisle or something.
Well, yeah, I
What
have
do
a
you?
different take.
Okay.
I'm gonna blow your mind because I always do this with people, but
Yeah.
turn the camera, turn it to portrait.
Yep.
So for me, when I look at this image, there's a competition going on in the photo. The team is competing with itself. So you've got all of this stuff going on right and left, and then you have the real action is a flying girl. Hello. So why not turn your camera into a portrait mode? You probably could have slid a little bit, even just leaned to the right. And then you would have been between the two heads that I see in the photo. And like Mike said, at that point, you're going to have all this extra room. This looks like a weird crop to me. It almost looks like it's been cropped to an 8x10, which, so I'm going to say that, unless you shot it on a medium or, large format or whatever, but I don't think so. I'm going you probably here, this would have been better as a portrait. You still would have had the Disney stuff in there. So we would have known where it was at. We would have known it was a competition because it's Disney in 2017 and the Flying Girl. This is just one of those things that making that choice to go landscape or turn that camera on its side. This was an image that the action was vertical, so you should have been in the portrait mode for this one.
Yep.
I mean, as far as the, high speed and all that kind of stuff, and the focus is dead on. I mean, 2.8, all of that's great. You operated the camera perfectly. It's just, in this, you've got a lot of competition going on stage with each other rather than a powerful photo of this girl being flung 15 feet in the air. I mean, that's incredible. But I don't want to be drawn away. I'm drawn away at the faces of people on the sides. And the girl is lessened because of that. I think the power is lessened there.
Yeah, he didn't mention this, but I'm wondering if what is coming up over your face here? You can't see it. Virtual box just popped up.
What's going on? Oh, great. Awesome. That's okay. Blank me out at any time.
Well, nobody else saw that because we still had the photo up. But I don't know if he did this where he took, I would have shot a bunch of shots all at once as a girl was flying up. And he might have done that, and this was the one he liked best. I would like to see if he got a frame where she was right below the 2017 and in the portrait mode that you talked about.
Yeah, so when I look at this too, let me you continue to talk for just a second. Let me see if I can get this thing off of my desktop.
Okay. And I do, like you said, it got great focus here. It looks like the shutter speed was able to stop the action. That's about all I have to say here. We can move on to the next one if you're ready.
Yeah, and I'll come back to this because I want to show you guys something when I get this. So
okay,
so
let's move on to the next one. So the next one is from Christy Lee Anderson, who was our winner in January, right? Yeah, January winner.
Yep.
With her, I think that was her daughter that was in there, and this one definitely is high ISO. I don't know. Did she tell us ISO 5000?
Wow.
And one of the things you'll notice if you shoot a lot of high ISO, you get better performance whenever it's dark, or whenever it's light versus when it's dark. So the same,
right.
You're looking at this one versus the one we just looked at, and you go, wow, the noise is much heavier in this one. I wouldn't judge it directly on that because this one looks like it's a much darker scenario. I've shot ISO 12,800 in a swim meet before, just to get any kind of shutter speed. And if the brighter it is, the less you notice the noise. This one here is definitely got a lot of noise, and that was the topic for this month. I will tell Kristen one thing: make sure you upload a large enough photo because sometimes some of it gets lost whenever it's too small. And this one also looks like a square crop. Does it look that way to you?
No, it's 5x7.
Is it?
To me, yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't look like the last one. Last
Okay.
one's definitely.
And she said a few weeks ago the fog had been very thick outside and it was creepy. I always struggle with conveying. You see that fog? I love fog. Every morning I wake up and I see fog outside. I wish I didn't have to go to work and I can go out and take photos of it. And every time I try and do that, I never come back with the image that I think conveys what I saw. So, I don't know if it looks like what she saw, but to me, the white balance is a little off here. I would have liked to correct the white balance a little bit. It's a little orange to me. And then
tungsten streetlights.
Yeah.
They get you every time.
And then as far as distractions, there's some along that tree on the right off the left side of the house. There's two other lights, one smaller and one a little bit higher up, I probably would have cloned those two out.
Yeah, I would, my question here would be, what are we going for? It's pretty creepy. Yeah, it's got a creepy look to it, I think. It does have that going on, but I'm not drawing anything further than a foggy photo out of it. And that usually puts the photo into a snapshot category for me. And that's the hard part about it, is if I can't draw some sort of story out of it, or it doesn't give me a feeling, then it becomes a snapshot. It does look like this was a zoomed in, like it was post-cropped to me, because the noise grain is very large and very defined. So it looks like it was zoomed in. Now, you said they sent a small photo, so that could be part of that as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. This photos like this, you really got to look, like, the closer you would get. So I'll give you a little tip, like for fog photos, the closer that you would have gotten to that tree on the left, and put the street light right behind, and I think that's a telephone pole there, and that's kind of killing it for me. It's so hard. I mean, we live too in this area. Danielle, my girlfriend, will tell you all the time, I talk about this all the time, that we have above ground wiring here everywhere, and it's just signs and wires everywhere. And there's these scenes that would be amazing. So you got to seek out the tree, with the light and no telephone poles and wires, because, they're just, unless it's some sort of like a person walking under that tree or a shadowy figure. Now there, I'm like, whoa, that's scary. Is putting the human element in here. But to me, it could be a shot out the window. It could be, a shot anywhere. So it becomes a snapshot for me without a story. But if you put the light right behind the tree or right behind the telephone pole, so you don't see the light, what your camera will then pick up is the light rays that are projected onto the ground. Now you're not seeing it now because the light is exposing the shot so that you can't see them. But if you hide the light behind something, you'll see these beautiful light rays, and that'll make it even more creepy and weird.
That's a great tip.
When you're trying to do this too, Mike's got a good point. There's 3 lights going on here. There's no leading line or anything of those lights. If it was a line of lights going down the street, maybe if you walked out into the street a little bit here, because it looks like you're kind of on a side street, and you've got those lights in a line in a row, that gives you a leading line down the road. And now you're drawing people into the photograph, and they're in the fog, and they're in there, and then they're going to get even more creeped out. And that's how you develop that story, is by using those lines and things to do that. But I just think this is a good start. It's a good attempt. But you got to get out there. I know it's spooky to do.
I love the fog.
I
just
do.
So,
yeah. And so we have a little park around here that I go to often. And I always tell everybody, if you have a location that you can get to frequently, make it your practice studio, make it your place that you go. This fog happens during certain times of the year, and it will happen consistently during those times of the year. So make note of that, and make note of the conditions where it is warm at one time and then becomes cold overnight, or the other feature is that it's warm all night and then a cold front blows in the morning, and the fog and the moisture comes out of the ground. So you make note of that, and you watch the weather conditions, so you can be out there every time that the fog is happening, and then you're going to start seeing that your mind will work those compositions a little bit more, I think.
And Kristen is out in chat on YouTube, and she says she was getting a question from Gary out there and asked what does she use to edit, and she says she used Photoshop Elements. Now, I hope she did win. Didn't she win for December? We're doing January. She won for December. I was wrong earlier. She won for December, the best of 2016. So hopefully you've received by now the Photoshop Lightroom, not the Photoshop, the Adobe Photographer Plan, prepaid 1 year, which has Lightroom and Photoshop in it. Maybe you haven't installed it yet, but if you haven't received it, somebody else got it. Anyway, let's, because I don't have it anymore. Let's move on to the next shot, the last one from the that we picked from the beginners group, and it's another puppy, another dog. I've also had this kind of dog, golden retriever. Love
Me
this.
too.
Yeah, love golden retrievers. They shed quite a bit. Let me. This
Yeah.
is from Jenny Williams. Get her name up there.
It's a great shot.
Beautiful dog, and another ISO 3200 that she took. Dog's name is Riley. Let's see. Our ever watchful dinner guest, Riley, was under the table and high chair with a light on in the kitchen. Is the comments we got.
Yep.
The one. Let's see. What was her shutter speed? 1/60th of a second. At 50 millimeters. That if you ever heard the shutter speed needs shutter speed needs to be 1 times the focal length. So 1/60th of a second, 50 millimeter. She's at that. For me personally, this is going to be different for each person. I probably need 1.5 times. So I probably would have wanted to be somewhere around 1/80th or 100th of a second with that, because I do see a little bit of blur in the image, and that could either be from her or it could be from the dog was moving.
Well, and I just looked at this too, and the more I look at it, it just looks like it's front focused on the whiskers, and it's just a misfocus.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about equipment, because this is a beginner thing, and we should mention some of this stuff. So, first off, Jenny, great lens for a beginner to shoot with. 50 millimeter lenses. Anybody out there, go get one. Put it on your camera. Don't take it off for 2 years. I mean, it is a great lens that makes you move, makes you walk around, and that's the important part of a 50 millimeter lens. They're usually quite sharp and quite fast, and this is a 1.8. And the thing is, when you stick it down there at 1.8, you get a lot more light in the camera, but your focus plane is very thin. So it takes pinpoint accuracy if you're in manual it says shot in manual. So if you're using manual focus here, which I don't know if you are or not, I'm going to say you're probably not. But if you're using manual focus, it takes quite a hand to get that eye. We always want the eyes in focus. That is the window. And you've got a wonderful subject here. So chase that dog, put that lens on and chase that dog. Just keep doing it. And make sure that the eyes and the beautiful eyelashes that golden retrievers have, they're gorgeous. Just don't tell my girlfriend. But make sure that you're getting them in tack sharp focus. And I want to talk a little bit too about Mike's this 1/60th. It is absolutely true. You usually try to at least have 1 over your millimeter. So whatever your focal length is. So 1/50th, or in this case, 1/60th. So that's okay, but that's a fringe point. Some people can actually shoot a little below that, some people a little high. And then on top of that, you also have cameras that can assist you. Like I know on my Sony camera, because it has that 5-axis stabilization stuff going on for any lens, that I could shoot a 50 millimeter at like 1/20th, and it would be sharp.
Because on a Sony, you have it built into the actual, what do you call it?
It's the sensor.
The
sensor moves around. And there's other cameras that do that as well. And so it depends a lot on the camera. And if it's a lens with optical stabilization, that's even better. So I have I have most of my lenses have optical stabilization, which I really like. And that helps quite a bit with that. There's also other tricks like dynamic range optimization, which can lower your ISO and make the image look lighter than it is. And you can kind of bump up that shutter speed a little bit, and kind of cheat that way as well. So it's learning your equipment, obviously. You've got the right settings. But as Mike said, it's a little blurry, and I can see that too. But it looks to me like it's front focused just a tad. I'm looking at a small image.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I don't have a full image to look at.
And you mentioned this earlier, AD, the 50 millimeter 1.8 lens is like the lens I always tell beginners, that's a great lens to get. It's fairly cheap. Sony, Nikon, I mean,
Yep.
Canon, Nikon. I don't know about Sony, but I imagine
No,
maybe them too.
Sony's fairly inexpensive too.
It's fairly inexpensive, $125 for a brand new lens, and it's going to give you some really good shots, really good quality for that size. The 1.8, like you mentioned, is very shallow depth of field. So you in this image, you probably could have got the left eye in focus and the right eye a little bit out of focus if you focus that way, because it's on a plane. Remember, it's on a plane.
Right.
But it's a great lens to play around with. All right, AD, we need to pick, you and me need to pick the winner of these 4 for the beginner group. So, guys, I'm gonna play you a little slideshow of all the images.
Oh,
And
hold on. Can we before we do that? I got one thing I want to do. I just
come back to us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to screen share because I did a little something on that last image that I wanted to go back to really quick.
All right, hold on.
So, this is screen share. You should be able to see me, Mike.
Yep, I'm bringing you up now. Yeah, gotcha.
All right. So, I just put this into a vertical crop really quick, but see how I got rid of the lower half of the people, and this is where the power is. Look at their faces looking up at her, and she's flying, and this is the story of the image. It's not all the other stuff that's around there. It's great that you caught all that, but really when you're looking at this image, that's the story. And look at the balance too as well. The Disney World's a little bit off to the left with the 2017, but they're centered up and everything, so it's balanced across the scene nicely. So you could actually crop this image and get away with that.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to go back on something I said. I like her at that height. I think I would, if you'd have had her, if we caught her a little below the 2017, like I said before, in this crop, I like her better high like that.
That's scary, man. That's scary stuff right there. To be thrown that high in the air.
Yeah. See, I would have trust issues. I would not trust that they would. First, they couldn't throw me that high. Second, I wouldn't trust that they would catch me.
But, I see he's got there is a spotter, a trainer there in the back. But the other thing is too, no offense to the young man on the left of the screen, but he's got a little bit there in the stomach area, and that was a little distracting as well. And now by bringing that up, we remove that from the equation. He's just, he blends in with his arms ready to catch her. And I think that is what the story is here. So that's just, that's all I wanted to show you guys. We can deliberate if you want to go ahead.
That is a great crop. Okay, so I'm going to bring us over to that and cut our audio. We'll be back in just a second. Enjoy the images. Some of the ones we have not gone over yet. All right, we're back.
I wore my water bottle while we were gone. That was good.
Yep. All right. So the winner for the beginner group for January, and no prizes, but just you do get to have your photo in the top of the group. So that's a prize. The winner is Nancy. Let me get her name up there. Nancy Zumback Smith. Nancy Zumback Smith. Congratulations, Nancy. I'll be putting your photo on the top of the Facebook group shortly.
Nice job.
Tonight or tomorrow night. Nice job. Congratulations. All right, AD, you ready to move on to the other one?
I gotta find these nested.
I know. I'm not making it easy for AD because I created 2 different slideshows for him to look at.
You just testing me. I get it, man. I get it.
I am testing you. All right. Next up is our friend Millen, and he had submitted, and he always submits great information. That's one thing that helps AD and I out. If you give a lot of detail on what you were trying to do, he always gives a lot of detail. So he went into a lot of detail. I don't know if I'm going to read all of it here. But, great. Thanks for the detail. It helps out. It's basically a Christmas decoration, as we can see. All right. For me, what I was going to say here is I would like to have seen, and I think he went into the fact he had to crop some of this. This may not have been possible. A shot, him moving to the right, where I'm looking, and I got the whatever that little snowman is on the left, and the reindeer on the right, and the tree in the middle. I would like to have seen it from that angle, from that angle. That's what I'd like to have seen. From this angle, I got a lot of distractions with the lights coming down the right hand side too, and I can't help but look at that red, whatever that red thing is, holding up that one ball on the left. That grabs my eyes.
The snowman head.
Yeah,
the snowman head.
Okay. That to me is it. When I first look at it, I'll tell you what I think when I first look at it. That I'm in Lightroom, and that's my blown highlights.
Yeah,
and that's what I
see. Well, I think It's an interesting image. I really like the I really like the path in the snow.
Okay.
Personally, I like the way that it kind of meanders. There must have been stuff on the right that he didn't like, because this is another short crop, almost a square. In it, for an Instagram image or something, this would be fine. But I think, Millen, if you would have gotten lower here and you would have hidden the red a little bit, I agree with Mike. It's quite an eye dragger. It pulls me over there. By the way, Millen has joined me actually over on Patreon. He is now working with me, so we'll
Awesome.
see how he does. We'll be testing Millen in the future quite a bit. But yeah, I would have liked to seen more play of the more play of that path. It looks like it keeps meandering down there, and it just, if you would have cropped this down from the top, gotten rid of that bright tungsten, beast over there that's competing with the nice white lamps and the white snow. If you would have come down lower than that and then let me see a little bit more of that path, I think this would have been fine for me and gotten rid of the red, obviously. Now, you can take the red out. It's a slider. You can use the HSL slider and target the red and drag the red completely out of this shot, probably without affecting the rest of the image. I would be surprised if it would, and it would blend in a little bit better, or at least bring the red down a little bit. It's not really helping the image. I think the story here is the lights on the snow and the snow on the trees. The other thing I wanted to mention too is if you have a flash on the camera with the snow snowing like it is in this shot, which I can just kind of make it out around the light. It looked like it was coming down pretty good. Fire that flash with a diffuser or something so that it stops that snow so we can see it falling in the scene at night. It's gorgeous. It's going to really add to the image, I think. But yeah, the story's kind of there and kind of not. And I agree with you, Mike. There's a lot of things again going on. I really like the tree, the snowman, and the reindeer. Could it have been narrowed or angled to where it was just the reindeer, the tree, and the path through the snow? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to move around and see what was available there. But Millen, I know, is listening to this or will watch it, so he can take that advice. And this is from his hometown of Montana, Bulgaria.
Yeah.
By the way, not Montana, United States,
States.
although it looks about like the same kind of weather. But yeah, I'm sure he gets a lot of this snow. Wow, holy cow! This is your first snowfall of the year. Yeah. So you've probably got a lot of and he says it was minus 10 degrees Celsius and he's not complaining. That point right in the head, I don't think.
I don't know what his time zone is, but I think he does listen to this after the fact because it's probably like 2 a.m. there. One thing when looking at this, when I was looking at it, is I know a lot of people struggle with, you look at your Christmas tree, and this kind of makes me think of a Christmas tree here. You look at your Christmas tree and you love the beautiful, the beautiful lights that are on there. You take out your camera, and boom, it never comes out on your camera the way you saw it with your eyes, because the lights are so bright that you're either going to expose for the lights or you're going to expose for the not for the lights. So your idea of bouncing some flash in there helps compensate some of that too, right?
Yeah, that would help that a little bit. But I think mostly what I would probably use it for is to try to highlight the snowflakes coming down, because they're buried in the background right now, and that makes them pop right out in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean, they catch the light first, and it's really fun. It's also quite dangerous if it gets wet, so make sure your flash is in a plastic bag or something that it's wrapped up. But if you go out with a handheld flash, I have on my flash, and you can buy these cheap young Nuo flashes. They're really well made, but they're inexpensive. They have a strobe effect on them. When you hit it, they actually flash like 50 or 60 times a second while you're taking your shot. So you hit that button and then hit your camera shutter, and it'll flash in between there, and it'll light up all the snowflakes. It'll look really cool. So, that's something to play with and to try. And I'm sure, like I said, he gets enough snow over there that he
has a lot more chances.
I do want to mention too, really quick on this. Normally I'd be taking away points for blue snow, because that's one of the problems with snow a lot of times, is that it comes out way too blue. But this was a night shot, and I think the blue just lends more to the mood here. So I think that's a good thing, and I wouldn't fault him. I know a lot of my students, if they watch this, would be like, "Oh, how come you didn't talk about the white balance on the snow?" And I'm like, yes, it should be perfectly white, and there should be that mostly during the day, but and then
Right.
you do get a lot of blue snow during the day. So
All right. Next up is, let me get his name. Lakesh LR. So if I said that right. Now, I don't have it on a, where I have it, where I'm viewing it is not good, but I know I saw this before. I'm not seeing it now. Anyway, let me say, this is a palace, historical palace in the city of Mysore in India. It's official residence of and seat of the Wuda. I'm not going to say that right. The rulers of Mysore, the ruling family who ruled from 1399 to 1950. The lighting of the palace takes place only on Sundays and stays for 5 minutes. So he only had it on for 5 minutes. So you know, what I would like to have seen in post, because you probably couldn't have done this, and I do like the fact that it almost looks like it's you know, I love the dark background and then the lighting of the place, of the palace, and the fact that it's just kind of out there. There's a few things that I would have darkened, and that is, it looks like maybe a road or something that's below it, and then the lights on the left and the right that look like they're separated off from the palace. And I'm wondering if he's on a little bit of a decline. That's why it looks like he's looking up a little bit at it. You know, the palace is a little bit higher. And he may not have been able to compensate that. If he could, I'd like to have been a more even, straight-on shot.
Yeah, I'll tell you something interesting. So, so I'm looking at the image over here. So I just copied the image from Google Drive, which is where we're looking at these and where we're displaying them. I just copied the image to my computer and on a calibrated monitor, and not over the web. There is no road.
What is that?
So.
Then?
Yeah, it's like JPEG noise or something.
Okay.
It's really bad. And I was like, before I say anything, I want to verify, because sometimes the web will do this. If something's out of gamut on the web only has a very limited amount of colors that it can display. And so what happens is, when it gets to something it can't display, it kind of makes it look like crap. And I think that's what's happening here.
Yeah, and I should mention, the way I get these, of course, is they post them in the Facebook group, and then I screen grab them off of there. So this is, you know, posting to Facebook, screen grab from there. So you are losing something on each one of these as we do that. So always keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'm looking at it in the viewer right now, and there's none of that. What there is, though, I do want to say, there is a white dot in the lower left-hand corner. Clone that out, definitely. There's a dot to the right of the palace, 2 dots. Looks like could have been some sort of light or car or something. Clone those out. There's one on the left.
Yeah.
Clone that one out on the left.
And those would be easy. Those would be easy to clone out.
Your story here is about the palace itself. I think I would have liked to seen you put the palace more in the lower thirds, which would have tilted it back a little bit more, because you're going to raise your lens up at that point. And so what you need to do is that, after you've done that and raised your lens up a little bit more, is you're going to put it into Lightroom, and then you're going to adjust the verticals. Now, the verticals are quite a bit off on this image. Here on the, and I'm pointing like you guys can see me, but you can't, but on the left-hand side of the image is leaning in a little bit more than the right-hand side of the image. So even though the image is level, it means that during the straightening process or something, you needed to also level your uprights. So there's a setting in Lightroom, and there's also one in Photoshop. And if you don't have either one of those, there's also settings in just about every app now you can get, and On1 RAW and all this stuff, that you can adjust your verticals so that they're straight up and down, so they don't have that lean back look.
And we do have, Lakesh is actually out there. I'm hoping saying your name right.
Awesome.
It was taken with my mobile, and there was no post-processing in it. So that may explain some of the JPEG artifact that you were noticing.
Sure.
if you have, I don't know if you have Lightroom or any kind of image editor, those few clone things that AD mentioned are pretty easy to do in something like Photoshop or Lightroom. And Lightroom also might help with some of that the leaning or perspective or whatever you want to call it
So
too.
if you don't have either one of those, Lokesh, I'm going to tell you that get Snapseed for your phone. It's totally free, and it can fix your uprights. It's built into Snapseed. It's crazy.
Is that
So you can
Android
just
and Apple?
Android and Apple both,
Okay.
and it's free. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, in Lightroom, I think that the operation is coming to Lightroom mobile as well. But I mean, Snapseed's a wonderful photo editor for your phone or for your tablet or whatever you're using. And like I said, I've said this at other ones. I love to see images that were taken on, on your mobile or whatever, and see what people can do. But yeah, Snapseed, you can fix your verticals in there. And what happens is when we lean an image back, it creates a certain mood to the image that might not be the story that you're trying to tell with this image. So, that's why I'm mentioning that. Generally, when a building leans back like that, it makes the viewer feel small. And that's okay if you're emanating power from this building instead of beauty. If you're emanating beauty, then not power, or power and beauty, it depends on what you're going for. So that's why I mentioned that. The thing is, though, right now, the whole image is targeted right in the middle of the frame. So you're definitely going to want to move it to the lower thirds here and give it some negative space to balance it in the frame for sure, no matter what your story is. So
Our next one actually happens to be from Lakeisha Ginn.
nice.
And this one, I got to read the story on this one because there's a story to this one a little bit. This is a mask that was folded by him.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, so it's I don't know what he folded out of, but it's an incredible folding job. Took this image by panning my mobile torch, and it's converted to grayscale to bring in the added effect. I would say this is one of the 3 finalists that we had this month too.
Yeah, I like it. It's a very dramatic image. I like the lighting. Again, there's some JPEG noise on the right, but I think that's if I copy this out and look at it, I'm sure it's not really there.
Yeah.
It's just what Drive does to the viewer of the image. So, yeah, I like everything about this. Black and white, excellent. An image like this. Now, so we talk about cropping and we talk about negative space. So this image is symmetrical. That's why it's in the center, and that's why it works in the center of the image, because it's balanced and everything's leading towards the center, and you have an equal on both sides, and it's just the light that is changing the overall balance of the image, and that's what makes this a perfect take. So a nice job, and definitely miles above the last image. So
And nice job both on the folding and on the photo.
yeah, the art itself.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
All right.
Beautiful.
Next up is image from Millen. Yeah, let me get this one. And I have several things here, but I also wanted to ask you a question, AD. So first, talking about the last image before last that was leaning a little bit back. This one is, I think, leaning a little bit to the left. So I would have straightened it up a little bit from there. I'm lost as to what the actual topic of the image is, but I will also say that I've come across scenes like this too, where the overall scene has interest to me. There's not a single focal point that has interest to me. It's the overall scene. And typically when I look at something like this with Millens, I enjoy the process of looking through the image and finding new stuff. So, once I got over the lean, I spent some time looking at this. Oh, hey, there's an ice skating ring. You look at some of the people walking around. So, but I don't know how to ever take an image like this and make it something interesting when there's not a clear focal point, a point of interest.
Yeah, I think that so one of the things that I think, I'll just say like my first impression was I was drawn to the ice skating rink as well. And so that was like second off I took in the image, the green lights kind of grabbed me, and then I went right from that to the ice skating rink. and realized what it was. So it's a pretty city scene, an urban snowy scene, which are, always interesting, I think, just depending on where you're located. Probably, if you have lived in the inner city all your life and want to get out, it's probably not the greatest thing. And if you're, a lot of us, city wannabe guys, and we visit, like I visit New York in the winter, and I love going to New York City for, and seeing the Christmas decorations. And it's just an amazing, nostalgic, even if it's totally built on marketing these days, but it's still a beautiful thing when it snows in New York City. And, so I totally get the whole urban environment with the snow. The thing is that you're definitely taking this out of a window or off a balcony, and you pointed your camera down. And when you do that, you're going to get that leaning thing going on where the buildings on the sides are going to be kind of splayed outwards because you're pointing your camera down, and that's what the lens distortion does. So you could straighten those up to kind of remove that lean, and straighten the horizon. And then let us just enjoy what Mike says, are roaming around the scene. And the ideal capture would be something that draws us in a certain line or draws us in a certain way through the scene. The overall picture, I guess I would have to ask you, Mike, does this make you want to visit? Honestly?
Honestly, no. It doesn't honestly make
Right.
me want to visit. No.
Yeah. So I think that when we take shots like this, our whole thing is like, we're there and we have we have all the things that we're taking in and all of our senses, and we want to share that with other people. That's the tricky part of just taking a photo and saying, look, you want to be here too. But we didn't have all those senses to go with it, right? We don't have the day that we enjoyed out in the snow. We don't have all the scenery that maybe we took in. So that's one of those things where if you're going to do a photo like this, you got to somehow make a story or something out of it that drags us in there with you. And I think having a skating rink full of people might have helped that a little bit.
Or lights pointing down onto the skating rink.
Yeah, because it's closed right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it just closed up, so it might be that a short missed moment or something. I don't know. That's the thing. It's just it's a late night photo in the city. If there was nobody in this scene, maybe that would have been a little bit more impactful, like a completely deserted, urban scene with all this snow. Now I've been, I've been out in cities out west where in the higher areas it snowed in Denver and like that, and there won't, nobody will be out at a certain time of night, and it's just amazing how quiet and how
peaceful,
surreal. Right? It's surreal. Yeah. And pretty much any photo you take of that is going to be like a ghost town with snow. It's going to be very, very cool. But so, yeah, with just a smattering of people here, I think it's one of those images that kind of is on the borderline. And it means something to Millen, which is important for him and should never be, when we do these critiques, stuff like this should never be thought of as this is a throwaway image. By all means, you were there. This means something to you. Is it going to be an award-winning photo that's going to mean something to other people? That's what we're talking about as far as our critique goes. So all of these photos, no matter who takes them or what they are of, mean nothing less to the people who take them for sure, and should never. So. And
I would mention that this one was one of the 3 finalists also. All right, next up is one of 2 from Amber Salat. Salat?
It looks like you got that right.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, not to take anything away from the other 2 finalists, I love this photo. I was hoping this one would have been in the finals. As I look around, do my border patrol, I had done this earlier, and now I should have kept it up on the bigger thing. Maybe the right underneath her Amber and her name A, there's a dot there that I might have cloned out. I don't mind, for me, the lights, because they're so toned down and up above him. I love the black and white treatment, but those 2 rows of lights that are above him, those don't bother me any. I don't know if you got a tighter shot, if I would have liked it better without the guitar handle hanging in. I'm all right with that too. I like this photo.
Yeah, I kind of would have liked it without the guitar in it. For me, I mean, put him more in the left and that blank space on the right, I think, or but I think that it's a well done shot. The part that really is cracking me up though
I
is the
know.
keyboard player in the back who has an iPad for a head. That's
Oh, I
just
thought you were going
killing
to
me.
say the
There's a
white dot right in the crotch.
well, that was my next. So as far as distractions goes, that definitely has to be removed.
Yeah.
If you're editing your photos at all, that you've got to clone that out. I'm sorry, but I know he's a rock star, but you know, we, that's definitely a distraction, and it's just I don't know what it is either. That's the thing that gets me. It looks like it
I
could be a
think
bug or
it could
it
be a
could be a
torn a
tear.
hole in his pants, and you're
Could
seeing
be, but
the
so here's the
pocket or
thing
whatever
with
else is under there.
right. So here's the thing: if it's a tear in his pants, there are no other tears in his pants. So I removed that one because
Yeah.
I'm like, guy shouldn't be wearing pants that only have a hole right where his business is. So, if this is a promo shot for the man, I would just go away from that. But I think she did a good job of darkening the background and kind of disguising the blockhead keyboard player as much as possible. It's tough. Bands are so tough. So here's the things with bands. First of all, all light men are idiots. So because there aren't usually real light men,
Yeah.
they're like, I'll take care of the lights. I'll do the lights, and they make them look pretty. But then they have a photographer come in, and there's no stage lights or no face lights. Good bands will have actually a set of lights for just that light up faces. That's all they do because they know media will be there to take photos, and those guys will and girls will be lit up perfectly. And then the pretty lights are all put around so you can see those. But most generally, we don't just stick a red light on the lead singer and go, yeah, go take photos of that guy. Because it's a nightmare for photographers. They end up having to shoot everything in black and white, and there's not enough light to really get the speed going. She's shooting this at ISO 4000. And she did shoot it at f3.2. And I guess I would have probably liked to see her shoot this at 1.4. And she's got an art lens.
Yeah.
It shoots at 1.4. I think I would have shot it at 1.4 and bokeh just get rid of the background. This guy's kind of like the star of the show, and probably at the distance that she was at, her depth of focus is going to be enough to get most of his face, I would think, in focus with that lens.
Yeah.
And even if she went at 1.8, I think if that lens will do 1.8, I think I just wouldn't have done. I don't think I would have done 3.2. I would have gone for that, and I would have dropped my ISO just a tad, and stayed with the 1/200th of a speed, or even gone a little faster, depending on how much these guys move around. I know when I was playing in the band, I think there's like maybe 3 photos of me ever that were taken that weren't blurry, because when I was on stage, I moved a lot, and photographers would always be pissed at me because they're like, you don't ever
Stand still for a second.
And I'm like, well, I'm not here to take photos.
Yeah,
I'm here
that's
to
your
play
job.
music. That's right. You figure it out, dude.
Well, she got him good and sharp. So I think he's pretty good and sharp. Gary asked, would you tone down any of the bright on his left, our right, and
Stage left.
Yeah, and she may have already done some of that. I don't know, but would you tone it down even more?
I think I would have played, rock and roll is, we got my buddy Lou Quattrini. If you guys look at my page, you look up Louis. Louis's a rock and roll. He does a phenomenal job with rock shots. So go look at his work. Feel free to play around with the image a little bit more. I mean, I hate to be brutal, but I'm going to be brutal because this is the way I am, and I want you to be as good as you possibly can be. So Amber, just take this with a grain of salt. But what I'm trying to do is push you. It's everybody is out there shooting shots of bands. Okay, everybody. I mean, people who shouldn't have cameras are doing it. You've got to kind of step it up another level. So play around with some textures, play around with some looks for these guys. Go look at, like I said, Louis Quattrini, look at some of his work, lewisqphotography.com. You can check him out there. He shoots for New York Rock, I think, and he goes around and shoots all these bands. But look at some of his creative work for Tommy Shaw and Styx that he's done.
Styx.
And I mean, yeah, and I mean, he just did these really cool art pieces, and Louie's always willing to teach as well. So you can reach out to him and tell him you talked to me, and he'll help you. He'll teach you how to do this kind of stuff. And you could take these rock shots to another level, and that means your paycheck's going to go up too when you do this kind of stuff. So push yourself hard. And try to separate yourself from the crowd a little bit, because it's a great shot, but it just doesn't bite me, as a hardcore image. I think you can take it to another level. Make it rock and roll.
All right. Now, and we got one more from Amber, and then so we have two more images. This one more from Amber, which maybe was at the same event. I don't know. It's another singer, female singer, and this one is also black and white conversion. Of the two, I like the other one. This is more. It probably fits more, and you're going to be opposite to me, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
This one is more, this is portrait mode, so you're more on the her.
Yep.
And I'm looking at this now. I thought she was more blurry than what I'm seeing here now.
Looks nice and sharp.
Yeah, she does. Anyway, I like the dude photo. Better of the two. I like this one too. I'm just saying I like the other one better.
Yeah. So just some suggestions here. Be wary of those water bottles.
Yep.
Okay. A little what you could have done here, a little bit of a movement to your left, even if you got to elbow somebody or say, excuse me, if there's somebody right there, you're in the pit or whatever, a little bit of movement. The microphone is going to move a little bit more in on her, but that's her jive. That's what she's doing. She's singing in the microphone. You would have had the American flag, I think, a little bit more around the back side of her. She's obviously doing some sort of patriotic event here or something they were doing, because I can see part of the flag in the background. You would have hidden the water bottle a little bit more. With that said, though, she is still very present in the photo and very strong. Mm-hmm. The beautiful necklace that she's wearing and the shawl, the lace is gorgeous. And I mean, that's all tack sharp. She got the right moment where her face and all of that is in focus. A little bit of movement in the bottom, which I kind of dig that a little bit.
I imagine she's dancing a little bit as she's singing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do like it. Go ahead.
To me, this is just a classic. This is a classic shot. I appreciate this shot more than the other shot.
Personally, I like this angle. Moving a little bit more to the left might have hit the water bottle, but I like seeing the action in the face. You're getting a little bit of the power of her singing with that angle.
I can almost hear the note, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's when I look at this, and I think that's the power in the image. When we talk about a power in an image, that's the thing. I can feel what she's doing, and that when you've captured that means you're on the absolute right track. So all those little things that I'm mentioning are just,
loving your shots, Amber. Keep posting and just Absolutely. In a regular group, but also in the contest. Loving your shots. All right, last up is this image from Debi Henry. Get Debbie's name here. This was also one of the finalists. And okay. Every image, one of the topics we have, one of the things people critique on is what impact or what emotion the image had with you. And there's no particular reason why I'm bringing this up on this one show, this one photo. But, as I went through it and I look at how other people voted, what is impactful or emotional to one person is not to the other person. So, and it probably goes with your background. Looking at those dog photos in the first group, if you're not a dog lover, you're a cat lover, that probably didn't have any impact to you.
Right.
For me, I owned both of those kind of dogs in the past, and so it had that kind of movement to me. This makes me think about the days when my kids were younger and we would go camping and all that stuff. Great capture of the flame. I mean, fantastic. I've never gotten one this good. Nice and crisp. And as I go around the image, do my border patrol, I don't have much problem with the border. I love this image.
Yeah, I probably would have cloned out whatever's going on in the upper right-hand corner. It looks like a little bit of something was creeping in on the image. Other than that, though, I'm with you on this. It makes it, everybody's a little different. Of course, I read her information posted was a Florida winter's evening. So I don't know what kind of joke you think that is, Debbie, but whatever. Florida winter.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hear of one of my students is from Florida, and I hear about Florida winters in 80 degrees. I don't want to hear it. Anyway, what it reminded me of actually is it just reminds me of being at the lake when I was a kid and we would have campfires. And I think that what you said earlier about the dogs and cat being a cat person, I think this is more of a universal image. I think you'd find more people that would be attracted to this than a dog or a cat image, just simply because I think it transcends a little bit better. And I like the tones. I think the muted, almost film-like look here, works kind of well. And so, yeah, I like this image. It doesn't tell me a story. It doesn't have a real composition to it. It's just, a great, well shot image of a campfire. And I think that's.
And if I had one critique for Debi, and this goes for not just Debi, but for some others too, give us a little more information than Florida's Winter's Eve on this.
What are you going for?
Millen is always great at sharing lots of information. You don't have to go in that kind of detail. A sentence or two would be good, but give us a little bit of information on what you were thinking behind the image. All right, so AD, so that was the last one, and we need to pick a winner for this month photo contest. And we're going to go back to also, not necessarily for the winner, but we're going to go back to giving away your Lightroom preset pack, aren't we?
Yes.
All right, so.
Yep, definitely.
Okay. So you don't know who the winner is, but I do. All the votes have been in, and the three were the one from Lakesh, the one with the folding map that he did from one sheet of paper, by the way, one square sheet. The fire we just saw, and Millen's shot of the town. And the winner, just barely by one single point, the winner was the fire from Debi.
Wow.
Great job,
Awesome.
Debi. Great
Somebody
job.
new.
Yep. All right. Good job, Debi.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Keep posting. I love watching Debi's images. Okay, now we need to pick someone to win the photo preset pack. I think, Millen, you're out. You've already won it.
Well, I got to, the thing is, Gary just posted in the YouTube too. And I have to agree. I think the mask is my favorite image out of all of these. My only worry is that Lokesh does not have Lightroom.
Yeah.
And I might encourage him to get Lightroom. But
I can't say who's second place because then the third place person knows. So
yeah.
I generally only reveal when there's only three finalists, only the winner. So that, I don't want to hurt somebody's feeling on that.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's still, hey, just because you didn't win doesn't mean the photo's not good.
That's right. All these photos are here for a reason.
Exactly. So what you're trying to do now is pick. Let's pick somebody. Lakesh, you can tell us for another time whether you have Lightroom, because if you don't have Lightroom, then Lightroom presets going to do you no good. Do we need to jump out for a second and discuss it, or why do you want to do it?
Well, I'm just, like I said, the mask was my favorite photo out of the ones. So, but I was trying to get to I think that when I look at all of these, and this is okay, I guess, to talk about in front of everybody, because I think it's important for everybody to know. I think Amber could probably use those presets in her work the most right now.
Okay.
I think if Lokesh continues to submit some images and he decides to go the route of Lightroom at some point in time, I'm sure he's not going to have any problems winning something, especially if he submits more like that. So yeah, Amber would be my pick. But do we need to battle it out, you and I? We could battle it out.
No, that's what I was going to pick too, Amber.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I was going to pick too, Amber. Cool. And Lokesh, if you will let us know whether you have Lightroom or not.
Yeah.
Either here or contact me or anything like that, because we want to make sure we're going to give it to somebody who's going to be able to make use of it. So Amber, congratulations! I will contact you and get you information on how to get that. Congratulations!
Great.
All right, that is another show. AD, I've had people who've asked me questions. Hey, I recently had somebody contact me and sent me a photo that they had done, and I think they're not wanting to share it publicly yet. They don't feel their quality is there, ready to share publicly. I've asked them to join our beginner group and to let us talk about it here online, and they're not quite ready for that yet. So where was I going with this? So, but they sent me something like that, and I would say just keep shooting, keep trying, and I'm recommending, hey, go and watch the other 8 shows we've done. AD gives a lot of great information in these on a wide-ranging set of photos. So watch and listen to what he says, and that'll help you grow as a photographer. And so he's gone out there and he started watching them, and we're building a great resource for people to look at.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun doing these. I mean, you know where I was from and used to do a lot of them just one-on-one with photographers. And I think I really like this format because we cover a bunch of different things. And again, you know, as we say every show, the more you guys provide me with what you're trying to attempt with the photo. And I say this every show, I'll say it again. When you go out to take a shot, you don't need to plan your shots. So I'm not saying go out and have a plan for your shots, because I rarely have a plan for my shots other than I want to go there and take a photo. And then when I get there, it's whatever strikes me, right? But there's something that says, set your camera up, take a photo, right? That's what I need to know. When you guys do that, let me know what made you stop and press the shutter button. That's going to help me help you be better at what you're trying to achieve. So if you can put that in your information, that's the most important part for me. Whatever else you want to put in there is fine. If you want to put in your camera settings and all that kind of stuff. But for me, the most important part is what kicked you in the butt and made you press your shutter button. There was something that said, stop right here, do it now. And you tell me that, and then I can help you achieve that goal that you're trying to reach. So.
Very good. Well, AD, thank you again for coming out and talking, and thank you guys for hanging out. Stay around for a little bit of post-show, because we got a couple of things we're going to talk about here in the post-show. But until next month for this show, keep it raw. Good night, everybody.